Hey, Amazon sellers. I want to share something that can completely change the way you run your business. For the last decade, I've built a world-class Amazon team that's helped me sell over $50 million on the platform and scale multiple seven-figure brands. Now, that same team and process is available to help you build, grow, and scale your Amazon business. This is not a course. It's not a DIY program. It's done for you Amazon growth handled by proven experts. We handle everything from listing optimization and SEO to PPC, inventory, catalog management, promotions, review strategy, compliance, and new product launches. So you can focus on running your business while we handle the rest. If you're ready to turn your Amazon channel into a profit machine, visit the link in the show notes, calendly.com/firingtheman/Amazon, and book a time to see if this is a good fit for you.
Welcome everyone to the Firing the Man podcast, a show for anyone who wants to be their own boss. If you sit in a cubicle every day and know you are capable of more, then join us. This show will help you build a business and grow your passive income streams in just a few short hours per day. And now your hosts, serial entrepreneurs David Schomer and Ken Wilson.
Welcome, everyone, to the Firing the Man podcast, where we cut through the noise and bring you straight talk with entrepreneurs rewriting the rule book. Today, we're joined by Britta Bucholz, a seasoned entrepreneur with a track record of building impactful ventures. She's the founder of the Boomerang Group, a full-service philanthropic consulting firm that helps high-profile clients turn their influence into a lasting impact. Her client roster includes global names like Steve Aoki, one of the world's most recognized DJs, and renowned dog behavioralist Cesar Millan, along with several other high-profile figures. Britta's ability to connect vision, strategy, and execution has made her a trusted partner to some of the most influential personalities in the world. Building on that experience, working with global influencers and causes, Britta is now turning her focus to one of the biggest challenges facing families today, screen time. Enter Kidoo, her breakthrough startup that flips the screen time fight on its head. With Kidoo, kids earn device access through bite-sized educational challenges, turning what used to be a headache into a mission. I've actually had the privilege of being part of the Kidoo beta test, and I can tell you firsthand, this isn't just another parenting app. This is a technology with potential to reshape an entire generation. Think Uber, think Tesla. That's the level of disruption we're talking about. In this episode, you'll hear Britta's inspiring journey of building Kidoo from the ground up, along with the real challenges she faced along the way. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a parent navigating the screen time battle, or simply know someone who is, this is an episode you will not want to miss. Britta, welcome to the show.
Hey, David.
Very excited to have you. So to start things off, can you share with our audience a little bit about yourself and path in the entrepreneurial world?
Yeah, well, that entrepreneurial world just started. I have been a product of the nonprofit industry for over 2 decades, for 25 years. But the last 7 years is when I started my consulting firm. 7, almost 8 years, actually. And I saw that it could be done. So it was really the leap of courage that got me into it. But I've been in the nonprofit space forever, every type of nonprofit you can imagine, doing fundraising. But I've always had that urge in my heart to do something independently. My family kind of came from an entrepreneurial world. It was always kind of a spirit in our family. And I think I was born with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, very nice. Very nice. Now, let's talk a little bit about Kidoo. And what was the moment or the problem that you were encountering that led to Kidoo just becoming an idea?
Yeah. So I think we all have been there. I know you are a father. So it was, I feel like it's one of those obvious moments for most parents. I was picking up the kids from school, and I think I had flickers of this idea even in before this, but I was picking the kiddos up from school, and it was one of those nights where you knew you had to go to Dick's Sporting Goods to get a pair of soccer shoes, and you had to drop off at UPS, and you were going to be in the car for at least 40 minutes, but yet you had soccer practice, and you had cheerleading practice, you had all this stuff going on, and you had a homework that the teachers had just thrown on top of everything. And I remember sitting in the back of the car, and we had just gotten over the conversation with all the kids. At that time, they were young. They were very young. They were kinders and they were second graders, having the conversation of, what homework do you have tonight? And it was the kind of the obligatory, the spelling words. Do you want to sit down at the table and do them together? No, Mom, I hate studying with you. Math homework. They had to read for 20 minutes. Just the obvious, right? Very obvious for those younger elementary kids. And a part of me was already avoiding the idea that I had to do this later on tonight or tomorrow morning. And so when was going to be the best time? And I had all this stuff going on. So because we had this long road trip to get all the errands run before all the activities, I, as a mother, gave them the iPads because we were in the car. And I saw out of the back of my eye when I was at the stoplight, the little 4-year-olds were asking the 6-year-olds what the password was to get into the iPad. And at that time, the 4-year-olds really weren't sure all of their numbers at this point. And so one of them was an 8. We have like the 6-digit passcodes. So my son was like doing what an 8 was in the sky. And the little 4-year-olds were like, oh, yeah, the ones with the 2 circles. And I was like, yeah. They'd put the passcode in there. And before I knew it, they had full on memorized the 6-digit passcode and could put it in whenever they wanted, however they wanted, and knew their numbers because they were motivated to learn to access this device. So all these little pieces of the puzzle started coming together for me in that moment. And I thought, if I could just get the spelling words in there and not the passcode, or if I could just get his math homework in there and not the passcode, that would be so amazing. Every 5 minutes, that app locks and they have to re-put a passcode or the answer a question. It then puts me out of that awkward position of being a teacher and puts them in this beautiful position of using the device as this motivational tool to learn. And that was the full-on inception of it. And I just kind of funnily was talking to a client when I was trying to pitch them to come to one of our nonprofit events. And he had a child, I had a child, and we just were commiserating together. And I giggled with the idea. And David, now that you're getting to know how many whimsical ideas I come up with, he's like, I actually like that one. It's like, okay, great. And he called me a week later and he's like, we're starting a company. And I was like, okay, all right, we'll start a company. And I didn't even tell my husband for a few months later that I had started this company with this guy that I had never met, with this whimsical idea that I had to invent an app, which I had no clue about the technology industry. So it was a bit about walking off a cliff. So Kidoo was a different direction than, say, starting a consulting firm in the nonprofit industry, where I had full knowledge of what I was walking into and how I was going to get paid, and that I was set up for success on day one. But it was really more about taking a chance on myself finally.
I like it. I love that story. And one of the coolest parts about that story is you went from idea to executing. And that's very something quickly that I find a lot being an entrepreneur, is people often come up to me and they'll say, oh, I've got this idea. And they will share with me that idea. And then you talk to them in 2 or 3 years, and it's still in the idea stage. And so what helped you go from idea to I'm gonna do this thing?
So on a human answer, there's a couple things. I went to business school at Loyola Marymount, and I was in the entrepreneurship program. And our teacher there is this amazing man who's now passed away. His name was Dr. Fred Kiesner. And one of the things that he always said, that every great business idea has about 100 people that have come up with the exact same idea. It was just that one person that actually did something. So it always has kind of ruminated in the back of my mind, that comment that he had made. But in all humanness, I am very fortunate to have a husband who is supporting me, to have kids that are incredible, and a family that loves me. And so to take a leap was not that leap of oh, I have to make ends meet. Can I really do this? I'm so scared. But it was a leap of, sure, the markets are going to do what they're going to do. I have some assets. Let's try this. I've never tried to risk on myself. My husband's comment to me was, if you're going to go back to school, it's going to cost the same amount of money. You're going to get a better education doing this than you would if you went back to school. And not even that I was contemplating going back to school, but it was such a cool and supportive response that I was like, how did I get so lucky? Right? And I think so much of just taking risk in life, depending on what your risk meter is having a network and a world around you that supports you. And once you get to that place, you have a little bit more courage to take the step, take that leap. When I started my consulting practice, that was a total different leap of faith. It was, I had a calculated risk, right? And I knew what I was getting into. I knew that I could get clients. I knew if I had to charge X amount, I'd be just fine. There were very fewer risks than there were at investing over $100,000 in an app that I know nothing about the industry. I am not an educator. I'm a mom. I intrinsically believe that this is what is needed because I've seen devices. I've seen how motivated kids are. I've seen how judgmental people are when you walk in with an iPad. I know that devices aren't going anywhere. I've been present at the conversations that my husband and I have had about, do we let them use an iPad? Do we not? And we both have arguments on either side of letting our kids use a device. I think there's some really good benefits. Kids are going to use technology the rest of their lives. It's how they use technology and how we look at technology. So the risks were vastly different this time around than they were the first time.
One thing I really like about your process is you laid it out and thought about it logically. I think there's a lot of people that get stuck on what if this doesn't work? And having been somebody who's had plenty of failed ventures, I can tell you really nothing. You learn and then you just keep going. And I think that the defining the risk, what does it look like if this works out versus doesn't work out, I think is really, really helpful. And, talking, going a little further about the problem, I've got a 5-year-old. My son Henry would walk through a brick wall to play Minecraft. He loves it. And that brick wall being an educator that's driven by AI, to the audience, I've used this product. And as Henry got more problems right, they got progressively more difficult. If he got something wrong, we would revisit it. And that brick wall became something that was really valuable to him to overcome it. And to call it a brick wall really wasn't, probably isn't appropriate. It was just a math problem, right? And so I really like that. And zooming in on the problem a little bit more, this is one issue that our generation cannot look to the previous generation for advice on. And if anyone's a parent with young kids right now, that judgmental look that you get from an older generation when you're at dinner and you pull out an iPad, or you're traveling and you pull out an iPad. And one thing I really like about this is it does kind of flip it on its head to where there are things on that iPad that are fun and enjoyable, but we can also blend it with learning. And so,
Absolutely. I think it's so important to do that. And as I kind of did my market research as if anything like this existed, there are amazing educational apps out there, but you have to navigate to them. So what kept getting me more and more excited about the idea is spring break ended and we're all laying in bed and I was like, hey, Case, did you do your reading? I know we had to do your reading and I didn't do it because we've been whatever. Did you do your reading and did you do your math? Ah, crap, Mom, I didn't. I would say, if I had Kidoo on your thing right now, if it was out of the development stages, your reading would have been done because every time you went to the device, you had no choice but to access that versus Epic and all these other fabulous tools. As a mother or a parent, you actually have to take the child and put them on there and make sure they stay. And if they don't stay, or if you don't put them on there, they don't go. So with Kidoo, it's totally different. In order to access anything, they have to be reading. They have to be answering the questions. They have to be learning.
Absolutely.
So it's It's a rest-free kind of thing that your kids are learning every X amount of whatever cadence you say if they're on their device.
I like it. I really like it. So let's talk about the path from idea to meeting somebody to help co-found to getting a product to market, which I think the idea, when people talk about how much is the idea worth, I think it's worth about 10%. And the other 90% is execution. And so let's talk about what did that look like?
A lot of trust, an incredible amount of trust. So going into this, I was the idea. And the developer, the guy who said, I want to do this, actually has an app development company, and this is what he does. And so all the tools and resources were kind of already in place. And so it was just a matter of trusting that mechanism. I was grateful, right? That the other person wasn't just an investor saying, let's go out now and find a marketing agency, let's find the developer, let's find all this stuff that can code it and do it. It was built in-house. So it was just, this is what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I think as the process unfolded, the most challenge, I had never done some of this. So I would sit there literally like this and watch podcasts about what I need to be doing if I'm starting an app, right? And all these things. And I remember driving to Vegas one day and I just had this on play and it kept saying minimally viable product. And I kept thinking, but why? Like, you want to have a business plan, like you want this all drawn out. And they're like, don't do that. You got to do the basic and let your consumers tell you where this needs to go. And so as this journey has unfolded, I, idea woman, keep saying, but it can do this, and we needed to do this, and it needs to do this. But it shouldn't, and it can't when we go to market. It needs to be a minimally viable product. So keeping it as grassroots and as simple as possible and not doing all the bells and whistles and trusting that that's good enough. For me, this is the hardest part right now, is trusting that the minimally viable product is okay enough to go out, because it's my idea, right? And you don't want people to think your idea is bad. And then the first test group that I had, I actually put it out to a few people, including some members of our soccer team, and they didn't like it. And it was embarrassing. I remember going to a soccer game and I dropped the kids off and I hid from my husband. I actually pretended I was going to go get water and like started crying in the car, thinking these parents hated this app. And I felt like I felt like I had failed. But and then it was like kind of broke down. I finally, a month and a half later, told my husband that this hurt my feelings. He's like, are you kidding me? They didn't even have an idea, and they didn't even do anything with an idea. You've already taken it 5,000 times step further. So be proud of that. And so again, it's that support system, that mechanism of being able to have the courage to go out and do it. It's not just coming from my internals. It's coming from this network around you. But it's an interesting journey, and you kind of take it as it unfolds.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd like to talk, I think that minimum viable product is a really good concept that I've heard. I read about it first in the book E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And I'm curious, when for your day one vision, had you taken that all the way to the finish line versus making a minimum viable product, collecting feedback, and then iterating based on that feedback, have you ended up in a different spot? Or were there points of feedback that were not even on your radar?
So the original concept was to upload your homework and you'd answer your homework questions. Original idea, and still where I want it to be. The first version was purchasing questions, individual questions from AI to feed into the system, and then to feed to the student, depending on what grade level and what subject you choose, and then they answer it. That in itself was a problem, because every single time a kid chooses to answer a question, we owe, it's like 0.2 cents or something. So if you have a family who's watching 8 hours of iPad a day and they're answering questions every 15 minutes, the cost for us was skyrocketing. So we had to create a system internally that was generating the questions. So we weren't paying for the questions individually, was the basics. And then from there, as we started seeing the kiddos, the thing that we saw that kiddos really wanted to do was manipulate the avatar or the person. So instead of going to uploading homework first, it became, we need avatars that can be customizable to keep the kids attuned to what this, like this, do the emotes that they want, do the skins that they want, whatever it is, right? To gather their attention and their focus. So that's the other direction it took before we even did homework upload. So homework upload is what we're working on actually right now. So the homework that's uploaded informs the questions. Those are the precedent questions that get answered before the kiddo does it. But the feedback was interesting. And the other piece that I thought was fascinating is children with autism seem to even love it more.
Okay.
Any autistic child or parent that I had of an autistic child, it was like a slam dunk that they'd love the app.
Interesting.
Well, I thought it was fascinating.
That is fascinating. When you heard some of the first criticisms, obviously that hurts your feelings. And what, knowing what you know now and getting the feedback that you have now, what would you tell the previous version of Britta?
Just believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I know that sounds so trivial, right? But you can lose the money in the market. You can lose it anywhere, right? Just at least you've learned something. I've learned so much more on this journey than I would have had if I just sat idle and watched what was just being idle.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's kind of really what I've learned through the whole process. And it's even made me want to take the risk even more, because you realize the risk isn't really as big as you thought it was. It's more perceived than it is real.
Absolutely.
And I think, a lot of this too, David, I come from the nonprofit industry, and not to take or cut down nonprofit industry versus for-profit or vice versa. But my business has always been about relationship building. It isn't about understanding the intricacies and the complicatedness of business. It's really relationships and making things work because it's good and it's right, and really more of a soulful driven mission in what I do. And that's kind of been the mission too. And even this process is, I can't sit here from an analytical business standpoint and tell you with the profit margins. And I'm not looking at this business from that perspective whatsoever. Nor did I even when starting my consulting businesses. I did it because I had a passion and a belief. And I believe some people are different, and they need the analytics, and they need the business mentality, and they need to read the books, and they need to be researched, and they need all that stuff to quantify the right decision-making process. For me, it's more of I have a passion, I believe in it, I know it can happen. And when I started this is how silly it is. I started watching the laws of attraction. I'm like, I'm just going to believe in myself. Everywhere I go, I'm just going to believe in myself and envision this being a success. If I believe in it and I see it, it's going to happen.
I like it. How much? So, as I said in the intro, you've worked with some of the biggest names in the world: Steve Aoki, Cesar, Millan. What have your experiences dealing with those types of incredibly high achieving people? Has that influenced your path with Kidoo?
I don't know if it's influenced my path with Kidoo in specific, but it's influenced my path of who I am as a person and how I perceive or execute myself personally and professionally. And I think it roots even way back to the beginning of my career when I was at an amazing place called City of Hope, a cancer research hospital, and I ran their music and entertainment industry group. And I remember sitting in the offices of some of the most renowned executives in the music industry. And in order to get things done, within 15 minutes of sitting in their office, if they said a name, they picked up the phone call and they picked up the phone and they called the person and they made it happen. Or they saw if it was possible, or they got them recruited, or they put them on the board, or whatever it was. They sold them the table right then and there. And it wasn't about making a list and to-dos and what needs to happen. It was about, if you see it, you believe it, you execute it. And I think I've taken that initial observation, and as I've worked with individuals who are highly successful, they're the same way. If you're going to get it done, you get it done. You don't ruminate on the what ifs and the could it be's, and you do it, right? You don't just sit and stutter.
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Like any great athlete too, like if they're going to win the race, if they're going to throw the trick, if they're going to do anything, you don't sit and think about it. If you sit and think about it, you're going to hit your head, you're going to fail, you're going to fall, any great performance is lack of thought and just doing it because you're so trained, you just do it. So I think that's the kind of the mission that I've taken with me as anything that I've done is just don't think.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow your gut and your soul, you're going to be okay. As we're born into this world in this beautiful space where we are led by instinct. It's growth in years that teach us to lead and to think with our minds and not our hearts and our gut. And when we think with our minds, we get in trouble. We overthink and we overprocess and we overponder, and that's when error happens. But if you live by instinct and heart, you're going to make the right decision most of the time. Whether it's parenting and telling your kid, don't watch the television or get off the iPad or do the homework or whatever it is, if you lead by instinct, you're going to do it right. It's when we overthink it and worry about what they think and what he thinks and what she thinks and that we get all messed up and muddled. Mm-hmm. So I know this is a bit of a spiritual feedback, but I believe it's the same thing. Our lives intermix, whether it's business or professional.
I think this is really, really good advice. And we certainly have plenty of guests on the show that come in and talk about profit margin or some of the more technical aspects of running a business. But what I have seen and what I'm hearing from you is a lot of successful entrepreneurs, they take action, they have belief in themselves, they're not afraid of failure. And that's what you're saying here. And so, no, I think this is really, really good advice. And they can be, I would say it's not that they're void of fear of failure. You can be petrified of failure. You're just not going to listen to it. Yes. Yeah. Because everybody does have that voice in their head, that negative Nancy sitting on their left shoulder who, what if this doesn't work? Or what if that doesn't work? It has also been my experience, the more I can quiet that voice, the better off things seem to go. Yeah. And so let's talk about the future of Kidoo. What, from where you're at to continuing to grow and scale this business, what does that look like? So where we're at right now is we're just launched on Apple. So we're trying to figure out what the acquisition cost is per customer. Once we can kind of figure that out, it's the idea of, do we get an investor or do we stay internally invested? My preference is to stay internally invested as long and as much as possible that we can. So that's kind of where we're at from like a cost perspective and what we do between here and the next 3-6 months. But vision-wise, I really want it to become something where it's not just, a kiddo can take the opportunity to say, I just want to unlock my apps every 15 minutes and play or do whatever. Or they could actually take a different direction with Kidoo where it's more of like a quest. And if they choose the Kidoo quest module of things, they can choose to go whatever island they want to or whatever land they want to. So if they want to do Math Island or if they want to do Reading Forest or whatever it is, they go to that place. And they can compete with other kiddos that are in that same space at the same time. Think a mashup between Fortnite a little bit, right? Uh-huh. And they actually compete to win prizes. So the first one to answer X amount of questions correctly unlocks X or does this, and this, and can go on to a different land or fly wherever you want to go. But making it more of a challenge where you can pull in your classmates and compete with classmates. You can pull in friends. Parents can unlock safe networks for you, but gamifying the quest of learning a little bit more versus just a single lock question is where we hope to take it. Outstanding. And if you want to know my prediction, this is it. Just as we speak about today can you believe that we used to put cigarettes in our soldiers' lunchboxes? Or can you believe that we used to let kids, eat lead paint or whatever? There will be a time when we say, can you believe that we used to let kids use a 6-digit password to open their iPad instead of using Kidoo? Like, I really think this is a transformative technology, and I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for it for my own usage with my own kids, because like you, we have that same problem where some days it's a tool that's helpful, some days it's not a tool, and it seems like it's working against us as parents. Sometimes it feels like we have a stranger in our house that we did not invite, and I see this being a great way to pivot and to turn it into a tool always. Yeah. And as a parent, that's what you want. Parenting's hard, and the more tools you can have, the better off you're going to be, and the better off your kids are going to be. And so I like it.
It's very hard.
Yes, it is. It is, but worth it, certainly. Mm-hmm. So, before we end this interview, we have something called the Fire Round. It's 4 questions that we ask every guest at the end of the show. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. What is your favorite book?
I hate reading.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What are your hobbies?
My kids.
Very good. What is one thing you do not miss about working for the man?
Other people's insecurities.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And final question. What do you think sets apart successful entrepreneurs from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
Belief. Very good. Very good. Britta, this has been an outstanding interview. To our audience, I am going to post a link in the show notes to kidoo.io. It is KEYDO.io. Go out and download this in the App Store and make sure you leave a review and help us support Britta in her mission to changing how parents interact with technology. So, Britta, thank you so much for your time today, and looking forward to staying in touch. You too, honey. Thank you.
Before you go, we wanted to share a new service that Ken and I have been using called Getita that has made us over $10,000 in Amazon reimbursements. The service requires no monthly subscription, and Getita collects a small percentage of the money they recover for you. It takes less than 5 minutes to set up and works on all Amazon marketplaces. Go to Getita.com, Getida.com, and enter promo code FTM400. That's FTM for Firing the Man 400 to get your first $400 in reimbursements commission free. How much money does Amazon owe you?